My chainsaw is busted, and today we're gonna try to fix it. I'm gonna clean the carburetor and show you a few things you wanna check on the carburetor. Eventually, I'm just gonna replace the entire carburetor with a new one that I purchased for 15 bucks on Amazon. Follow along if you wanna see how this is done. The symptoms here are that this thing just doesn't wanna start. And when it eventually does start, it doesn't continue to run properly. It becomes bogged down, eventually just stalls entirely. So I purchased this new carburetor and a few additional parts came with this kit. A few hoses for fuel. There's a fuel primer bulb, spark plug, I think that's a fuel filter, some gaskets, and other bits and pieces. Check the link in the description below to get this exact kit on Amazon, all for less than about $20. Disengage latches on the left and right side of the chainsaw and remove this cover. Now we want to remove this air filter, flip this switch downward, and now you can pull off this portion of the air filter. It's wedged in there pretty good. With a Torx bit, remove these 3 bolts. And remove your air filter. Disconnect your throttle link from the carb. And while I was doing that, I also disconnected the choke. Take note while you're doing this which fuel line goes where. This fuel line originating down in this area connects to this side of the carburetor, and the fuel line coming off of the primer bulb connects to this portion of the carburetor. If you're trying to reuse your carburetor, you can spray it now with some carb cleaner. You can also further disassemble it and clean it out even more. Remove these 4 screws, 1, 2, 3, 4. You might have to gently pry this part off with a flat blade screwdriver, and that reveals this plastic piece. If this piece is no longer flexible and or broken, you can see I have a cut right here, and that might be the cause of some of my problems. Then this gasket needs to be entirely replaced, or you can just replace your entire carburetor at that point, which is what I'm going to do. But if you want to further disassemble your carb and reuse it, you'd remove this screw here, and be careful doing that because some pieces are going to fall off the carb. You don't want to lose those. There's some fuel squirting. There's a spring and a shaft here, and this small pin came out here. Reassembling that is a bit tricky. Another reason to potentially just replace your carb altogether. Spray in here with some carb cleaner. And then from here you can reassemble with your existing carb. That might fix your problems. While you're doing that, you can replace some of these gaskets with some new ones. That's with the kit I purchased, or a different kit will give you the gaskets and a few other parts without a new carb. But we're going to replace this carb altogether, so let's remove these fuel lines. My kit has some new fuel lines, they're just not cut to length. So I already removed this original fuel line, it was attached right here. I'm going to cut one to similar length. Just be cautious and maybe leave a little bit extra length. I can always cut more off later. And then assemble the new fuel line. Over time, these old fuel lines can become hard and stiff and potentially leak. So it's good to replace these now. Repeat for the remaining fuel lines as well. And this primer bulb, I'm going to go ahead and replace it while we're at it. I replaced it last year, but I have a new one with the new kit. So pry in here with the flat blade screwdriver. Remember which tube goes on which location, and replace with the new one. Feed through the new fuel line to the new primer bulb. And I have one more fuel line to replace, this one down here. Just ensure as you're routing the new fuel lines that they're routed in such a way that the air filter, when it's installed, is not going to pinch the lines closed. All 3 fuel lines are connected, so reinsert fully the primer bulb. I have some fuel in my tank, so before I connect the new carb, I'm going to test the primer bulb, give it a few pumps, and see if fuel moves through these lines. Perfect. You can see some fuel coming out of the one line. This will go into the carb, which is perfect. And now let's reassemble the new carb. Connect the fuel lines. Now, admittedly, reassembly of this carburetor and the air filter at the same time is a bit tricky. I'll use this new gasket in this area here. And on the air filter side, I have this new gasket. I'll pre-assemble these bolts. New gasket. And then put this into place, being sure I don't pinch my fuel lines. Also, while you're doing this, you need to keep an eye on your choke connector and your throttle connector. Throttle connector actually needs to go above this little part on the air filter. Got to route it like this above this part here. That was admittedly not easy, but we finally got everything assembled and these two bolts threaded in. So now we have to reconnect our choke and throttle connectors. I find that it's easier to fully remove the choke from the chainsaw to do this. So originally the choke connector was attached like this, just pull up, and then it has to be routed in the right way underneath this part on the air filter, back around here to the linkage on the carb. It's going to be tricky to see exactly what's going on here, so hopefully you took a photo of what your chainsaw looked like before you fully disassembled. These linkages are now reattached. It's in fact easier to attach these linkages to the carburetor before fully assembling the carburetor back to the chainsaw. And before I reinstall the air filter, I'm going to ensure that this chainsaw starts up and runs properly. So give it a few pumps on the fuel primer bulb. Turn the chainsaw on, pull the choke, let's let her rip. She seems to be working great now with that new carburetor. My chain was loose, so I'll tighten that up appropriately and lock it down. Reassemble the air filter, clean out your old one, or just replace it entirely. Close up this lever. If you need to adjust your throttle, tighten up or loosen this screw here and reassemble the cover. This chainsaw is back to running perfectly. I hope this helps you with your project.